Later in the call, you have an exchange. You'll see from toward the bottom of the page, Ms Berejiklian says, "I don't need to know about that bit." Do you see that there?
I see that.
And you say in response, "No, you don't."
Mm-hmm.
You do not. Do you see that there?
Yes.
Why did you say, "No, you don't, you do not"?
Just a response. I don't know why I said that.
Well, it can't just be a random response. Wasn't it the case that there was particular information that you decided not to tell Ms Berejiklian? Let me perhaps put it this way. What it seems to, at least to my ears, is you're agreeing to Ms Berejiklian that there's a particular class of information, take that off the screen, particular information that you don't propose to share with her. Is that right?
Yes.
I mean, you gave some general answers yesterday regarding the kinds of information that you might share with Ms Berejiklian. At least as I hear that call, and I may have it wrong, there was a line at which you came to the view that you shouldn't share information concerning your business dealings, perhaps generally or perhaps with property developers more specifically. Is that a fair way of understanding the communications?
Yes, I think so.
Were you concerned that if you shared a little bit more information than what you did with her, that she might need to take action in the exercise of her public functions?
Well, yes, I would have been concerned that it would cause an issue for it. Yes.
I mean, you were at least concerned at this point in time, weren't you, about questions that might be raised as to the propriety of your involvement in the Badgerys Creek matter. Would you agree?
Well, yes.
And do you agree that at least in part you sought to shield some of that information from Ms Berejiklian?
Yes.
You shared some, at least in general terms, as to what you're up to and what you're doing, correct?
Yes.
There was at least to some extent a sounding board or someone with whom you might discuss the kinds of things that you're involved in, at least in general terms, is that right?
Yes.
But it looks like, at least, and I'm raising this for your comment,
yes,
that there was a line at which you wouldn't fix her with knowledge in relation to your activities. Is that right, or is that going too far?
No, I think that's correct.
And is that how we understand a comment like the one that we heard a moment ago? No, you don't. You do not. Is that how we should understand that?
Mm.
Was it also the case that as you understood it, either from this call or from any other communication you had with Ms Berejiklian, there was particular bits of information that she didn't want to know about your activities?
Well, yes.
And where's the line drawn, at least in your mind, as to what you would share in relation to your, what I'll call outside business activities, and what you'd not share? It sounds like there's a line. I'm just wanting your assistance as to where that line is.
I think the line is just general discussion, general overview, and that was about it.
It was a little bit more than that, wasn't it? Because, for example, on the 5th of September 2017 call that I showed you, or that I played you yesterday, there was some discussion of money in the sense that you said there was enough money to pay off my debts, which would be good. Do you remember that?
Yes, that's correct. And
I think you accepted yesterday that you had told Ms Berejiklian that your debts was something like $1.5 million, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So the line's not drawn, I don't think, but obviously tell me if you disagree, between money matters and non-money matters. There must be some other line that you were drawing, at least in your mind, as to what to share and what not to share. Do you agree?
Can you ask that question again, please?
What I'm trying to understand is, at least as I understand your evidence so far, there was some information that you would share with Ms Berejiklian regarding what I might describe as your outside business interests, but some information that you might decide not to.
Yes.
Have I got that right?
Yes, you got that right.
And in relation to the information that you decided not to, it was because you were concerned, or at least a factor was you were concerned that that might cause her to take steps in the exercise of her public duties, correct?
Yes.
And what I'm trying to understand is the line between those two categories of information. It sounds like at least general matters, what I'm up to in general terms, the kinds of business deals and the like I'm seeking to be involved in was discussed. Is that right?
Yes. General discussion, just general discussion.
At least some discussion of matters of money took place. Is that right?
Yes.
In fact, you were in regular communications, either talking about money or sometimes complaining about money. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
But would you agree that there was a point at which you stopped giving the details because you were concerned that that might cause her to have to take steps in relation to that matter?
Well, I thought it would cause her difficulties, so I limited the information that I gave her, yes.
So putting it in a slightly different way, it's not necessarily a blow-by-blow account of your business activities, but it's at least some general discussions and sometimes some discussions of matters of finance. Is that right?
Yes.
What difficulties do you think it would have caused her if you descended to specifics, Mr Maguire?
Well, I think it might put her in a really difficult position if I went into specifics of issues and all sorts of, complexities that might be involved. I didn't think she needed to know. And the conversations I had, Commissioner, were, of a broad nature, and I regularly refrained from giving too much detail because a lot of it was hypothetical too.
No, but I don't think you've answered my question. My question was, what difficulties did you see it causing Ms Berejiklian if you descended to specifics?
Oh, well, obviously there's conflict of interest and all of that kind of stuff that I considered might make things really difficult for her. So
Well, in relation to Smart West, for example, I take it the New South Wales government was making decisions almost constantly about how that project would be brought to fruition.
Yes, there would have been.
So that would be an obvious conflict of interest.
Yes.
You'd agree, though, wouldn't you, that there was at least some discussion as to the kinds of steps that you were taking to achieve benefits for people like Ms Waterhouse, such as letting her know things like, I've taken her up to your office and I'm trying to get them to help with problems that Ms Louise might have, that kind of thing?
I don't know that I would have been that direct or given that much information.
Well, do you agree that you at least gave information of that kind? In other words, identifying particular kinds of steps that you've taken or that you're going to take as between you and public officials during the course of discussions with Ms Berejiklian?
No, I can't recall that I would have been that detailed in what was happening, no. In my best recollection, no.
Can I